But right now, it is time for the Way Black History Fact, and today's Way Black History Fact is sponsored by Major Threads. For innovative, fashionable sportswear, check majorthreads.com. I want to shout out a friend of the show. I call her Shouty. She sent this over to me earlier, and I thought I might share it with you. There's a TikToker, and he makes these videos, and he says, everything is racist. And then he proceeds to explain how something you would never think is racist. Well, today we're going to have one of those. From NPR. For almost 300 years, researchers have classified life on Earth with scientific names. Two-word monikers like Homo sapiens that become a kind of permanent label. But there are those who argue that some of these names are problematic, demeaning, or even racist. How about that? That's why the community of plant, algae, and fungi researchers took a series of steps to start tackling these issues, including voting to rename more than 200 plants to strike a racial slur from their official names. The move, made just ahead of the International Botanical Congress in Madrid, was intended to correct a name that many found derogatory. One of the plants that was facing a name change is the African coral tree that grows in eastern South Africa. The problem is the tree's scientific name, Erythina caphra. The second word likely originally referred to the area where the tree was found. It derives from the Arabic word for infidel, but it came to be used as a racial slur against black people in South Africa and elsewhere. It's, for those that don't know, there's it's like the N-word, but it's used in Africa. I'm not going to say it. And it sounds, it's like you could see the connection with this word kafra. And so this is why these folks are like, hey, we need to change this name. Okay. That quote, that word carries very violent, brutal, socially unjust history, says Makunga, which is one of the folks that is working to change this. Goes on to say, and so when I see it, I get a bit of the sinking feeling in my body, a physiological and maybe even physical reaction. Psychological and maybe even physical reaction. Makunga has given presentations that reference the coral tree, during which she's had to write out or even say its derogatory name. Quote, it's difficult to be pronouncing that as a black person, she says. All right. There are 218 plants, 13 algae, and 70 fungi whose scientific names have some variation of this word, but it's part of their official designation for some since the late 1700s. That's why we're talking about this on the Way Black History Fact. Then earlier this month, more than 100 scientists gathered in Madrid just before the International Botanical Congress. This nomenclature section meets once every 6 years to discuss altering the code that's been used to name the more than 250,000 plants, fungus, and algae species on the planet. Some spoke against the proposal, others came out in favor. At last, the question of whether or not the names of these plants should be changed came to a vote. And it ended up being the case that the proposal passed with 63% in favor, just clearing the 60% threshold required. Some disputed the decision on technical grounds, and there are those who agree that with the change, but worry it could lead to a flurry of requests to alter the nomenclature of untold numbers of other species, of course. Quote, the names that were in the past, they should remain the way that they are, says Elena Freire Fierro, a botanist at the Technical University of Cotopaxi in Ecuador, who didn't attend the gathering in Madrid. Quote, you don't want to seem like bigoted or something like that, but at the same time, naming has to be a stable process, she says. That's because these names are used across a range of scientific disciplines and industry spanning the fields of botany, horticulture, and agriculture. And to that, I say, boo. Yeah. Easy for you to say that from a position of privilege, and it's not insulting you.
Of course.
And you know what? The only constant is change. If the name hurts people, change the name. Stop hurting people. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Nobody's talking about what tree is this anyway? You know what I'm saying? Like, just do it. It makes people feel better. You're not God. And be kind. It's very simple, all right?